Are you there? Right. It is day 65 of reading the Bible in a year, and I've still got 4 more chapters of Joshua to read, but it's chapters 9 to 13. And it's quite interesting in some places. Oh no, it's 5 chapters. 9, is it? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, 5 chapters. Okie dokie. Yeah, there are some interesting bits in it. And there is also lots of fighting and killing. Yay. Alright. Let's get reading. The treaty with the Gibeonites. And it came to pass, when all the kings who were on this side of the Jordan, in the hills and in the lowland, and in all the coasts of the great sea toward Lebanon, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, the Jebusite, heard all about it, that they gathered together to fight with Joshua and Israel with one accord. But when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai, they worked craftily and went and pretended to be ambassadors, and they took old sacks on their donkeys, old wineskins torn and mended, old and patched sandals on their feet, and old garments on themselves, and all the bread of their provision was dry and mouldy. Oh, mouldy bread. Were they orcs? And they went to Joshua to the camp at Gilgal, and said to him and to the men of Israel, We have come from a far country. Now, therefore, make covenant with us. Then the men of Israel said to the Hivites, Perhaps you would dwell among us, so how can we make a covenant with you? I don't know why I'm doing the voices. But they said to Joshua, We are your servants. And Joshua said to them, Who are you? And where do you come from? So they said to him, From very far country, your servants have come because of the name of your God. For we have heard of his fame, and all that he did in Egypt, and all that he did to the king of the Amorites, who are beyond the Jordan, to Sihon king of Heshbon, and Og king of Bashan, who was at Ashtaroth. I can't keep the voices steady at the moment. Therefore our elders and all the inhabitants of our country spoke to us, saying, Take provisions with you for the country, for the journey, and go to meet them, and say to them, We are your servants. Now therefore make a covenant with us. This bread of ours we took hot for our provision from our houses on the day we departed, to come to you, but now look, it is dry and mouldy. And these wineskins which we have filled were new, and see, they are torn, and these our garments and our sandals have become old because of the very long journey. Then the men of Israel took some of their provisions, but they did not ask counsel of the Lord. So Joshua made peace with them, and made a covenant with them to let them live, and the rulers of the congregation swore to them. And it happened that at the end of 3 days, after they had made the covenant with them, that they heard that they were their neighbours who dwelt near them. Then the children of Israel journeyed and came to their cities on the 3rd day. Now their cities were Gibeon, Chephirah, Beeroth, and Kirjath-jearim. For the children of Israel did not attack them, because the rulers of the congregation had sworn to them by the Lord God of Israel. And all the congregation complained against their rulers. Then all the rulers said to the congregation, We have sworn to them that by the Lord our God, now therefore we may not touch them. This we will do to them. We will let them live, lest wrath be upon us because of the oath which we swore to them. And the ruler said to them, Let them live, but let them be woodcutters and water carriers for all the congregation, as the rulers had promised them. Then Joshua called for them, and he spoke to them, saying, Why have you deceived us, saying, We are very far from you, when you dwell near us? Now therefore you are cursed. None of you shall be freed from being slaves, woodcutters and water carriers for the house of my God. So they answered Joshua and said, Because your servants were clearly told that the Lord your God commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land and destroy all the inhabitants of the land from before you. Therefore, we were very much afraid for our lives because of you, and have done this thing, and now we are here in your hands to do with us as it seems good and right to do to us. So he did to them, and delivered them out of the hand of the children of Israel, so that they did not kill them. And that day Joshua made them woodcutters and water carriers for the congregation, and for the altar of the Lord in the place which he would choose, even to this day. The sun stands still. Now it came to pass when Adonai, Zedek, king of Jerusalem, heard about Joshua had taken Ai and had utterly destroyed it, and as he had done with Jericho and its king, so he had done to Ai and its king, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel, and were among them, that they feared greatly, because Gibeon was a great city, like one of the royal cities, and because it was greater than Ai, and all its men were mighty. Therefore Adonai Zedek, king of Jerusalem, sent to Horam, king of Hebron, Piram, king of Jarmuth, and Japhia, king of Jachish, and Debir, king of Eglon, saying, Come with me, and help me, that we may attack Gibeon, for it has made peace with Joshua and the children of Israel. Therefore the 5 kings, just like in the Hobbit films, which I hate. Therefore the 5 kings of the Amorites, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon, gathered together and went up, and they and all their armies encamped before Gibeon and made war against it. And the men of Gibeon sent to Joshua at the camp of Gilgal, saying, Do not forsake your servants. Come up to us quickly. Save us and help us, for the kings of the Amorites who dwell in the mountains have gathered together against us. So Joshua ascended from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valour. And the Lord said to Joshua, Do not fear them, for I have delivered them into your hands. Not a man shall take stand before you. Therefore Joshua came upon them suddenly, having marched all night from Gilgal. That must have been a long way. So the Lord routed them before Israel, killed them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, chased them along the road that goes to Beth-horon, and struck them down as far as Azekah and Makkedah. And it happened, as they fled before Israel, and were on the descent of Beth-horon, that the Lord cast down large hailstones from heaven on them, as far as Azekah, and they died. There were more who died from the hailstones than the children of Israel killed with the sword. Wow. Then Joshua spoke to the Lord that in that day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and moon in the valley of Ajalon. So the sun stood still, and the moon stopped, till the people had revenge upon their enemies. It is not written... is this not written in the book of Joshua? So the sun stood in the midst of heaven, and did not hasten to go down for about a whole day. And there has been no day like that before it or after it, that the Lord heeded the voice of man, for the Lord fought for Israel. Then Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, to the camp at Gilgal. Now, is there a book of Joshua in here? No. There is not a book of Joshua in the Bible. It might have been taken out when they were choosing what books to keep in the Bible. Yeah. The Amorite kings executed. But these 5 kings had fled and hidden themselves at a cave in Makkedah. And it was told Joshua, saying, The 5 kings have been found hidden in the cave of Makkedah. So Joshua said, Roll large stones against the mouth of the cave, and set men before it to guard them. And do not stay there yourselves, but pursue your enemies, and attack their rear guard. Do not allow them to enter the cities, for the Lord your God has delivered them into your hand. Then it happened, while Joshua and the children of Israel made an end of slaying them with a very great slaughter until they had finished, that those who had escaped entered the fortified cities. And all the people returned to the camp and to Joshua at Makkedah in peace. No one moved his tongue against any of the children of Israel. Then Joshua said, Open the mouth of the cave, and bring out those 5 kings to me from the cave. And so they did, and brought out those 5 kings to him from the cave, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. So it was, when they brought out those kings to Joshua, that Joshua called for all the men of Israel, and said to the captains of the men of war who went with him, Come near, put your feet on the necks of these kings. And they drew near and put their feet on their necks. Then Joshua said to them, Do not be afraid, nor dismayed. Be strong and of good courage, for thus the Lord will do to all your enemies against whom you fight. And afterward Joshua struck them and killed them, and hanged them on 5 trees. And then they were hanging on the trees until evening. So it was at the time of the going down of the sun that Joshua commanded, and they took them down from the trees and cast them into the cave where they had been hidden, and laid large stones against the cave's mouth, which remained until this very day. This chapter 10 is quite long. Conquest at Southland. On that day Joshua took Makkedah and struck it with its king with the edge of the sword. He utterly destroyed them. Following the Masoretic text and most authorities, many Hebrew manuscripts, some of the manuscripts of the Septuagint, and some manuscripts of Targum. All the people who were in it, none remain. He also did to the king of Makkedah as he did to the king of Jericho. What did he do to the king of Jericho? I don't know. Then Joshua passed from Makkedah and all Israel with him to Libnah, and they fought against Libnah, and the Lord also delivered it and its king into the hand of Israel. He struck it with all the people who were in it with the edge of the sword. He let none remain in it, but did to its king as he did at the king of Jericho. Then Joshua passed from Libnah and all Israel with him to Lachish, and they encamped against and fought against it, and God delivered it to the hand of Israel on the second day, and struck all the people who were in it with the edge of the sword. Yay. And then Horam, king of Gezer, came up to help Lachish, and Joshua struck him and his people until he let none of them remaining. And from Lachish to Eglon, and fought against it. They took it on that day, on the day that they got there, and struck it with the edge of the sword. All the people that were in it were actually destroyed that day, according to all that had been done in Lachish and all the other places. So Joshua went up from Eglon and went to Hebron, and they fought against it, killed it, the king and its cities, none remaining, utterly destroyed. Then Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, to Debir, and they fought against it, and he took it with king and all its cities. They struck it, utterly destroyed it, none remaining, as he'd done to everywhere else. And so Joshua conquered all the land, the mountain country and the south, and all the lowland and the wilderness slopes, and all their kings, and none were left remaining, but utterly destroyed all that breathed, as the Lord God has commanded Israel. And Joshua conquered them from Kadesh Barnea as far as Gaza, and all the country of Goshen as far as Gibeon. All the kings and their lands Joshua took one at a time, because the Lord God of Israel fought them. Then Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, to the camp. Oh my word. That must have taken ages. And I've still got 3 chapters to read. Yay. So I'm going to have to do a part 2 so it's not too long.